Alright, g'day. Welcome to the GCM Scale Garage. Today we are going to take apart the Dingo and we're going to get these MetalHead axles bolted on here. This is the rear axle that we're going to use. This is MetalHead SCX10 width and all the steel stuff on here. These are a bit of a hybrid because we're going to use the Wraith link mounts on here instead of the SCX link mounts. So we're going to show you how to set that up. And our rear axle here already has the tab on top for the mounting the top links. And our front axle here is also MetalHead. All kinds of steel stuff going on here. We've also got the tab mount up top. For the top link, we're going to use a panhard setup. So our panhard link mount is right here. And this is another piece of steel that we made up as a custom part. We're going to use the Wraith mounting tabs here on these tubes instead of the SCX tabs. So a bit of a hybrid install, but we're going to have a look and see how it goes. And we're going to tear down the Dingo here and get ready to drop in these axles. As you can see, we've got the brand new ReGrind wheels from GCM on here. And we've already upgraded the foams and the tires to a ProLine TSL. So instead of using our GCM switchback rims that we had before and the Dingo tires and foams, now we've got a set of gray Dingo non-memory foams, brand new, in a ProLine TSL 1.9 tire, and we put it on the new ReGrind rim. And you can see there's just so much detail in these. They give the truck a bit of a classy look. The rotor bolts on to the wheel, and then the rotor attaches to the axle with this drive pin right here. So there's no more hex. And we've pulled these off the truck, ready to go. And so our first step here today is going to be to get rid of the rear axle. We're going to take the rear axle here assembly right off. We're going to leave the links on the skid plate for now. And we've got it 4-linked up top here, so we're going to leave the 4-link mounts up onto the frame. We're going to take the axle off, leave the shocks, and so let's get that torn down, and then we'll see what we've got to do to get the MetalHead axle bolted in here. Yeah, there we go. So that was easy. This is the finished product here on the bottom of the Dingo. You can see I got the shocks bolted on there, and it's a pretty simple setup. I really love using the Wraith links, man. It's really nice. This thing is tight, and you just can't believe the travel and the articulation on this thing. I mean, look at that. That's just lock to lock on the shock. Unbelievable travel. And it's still using the stock shocks, but I guess it's just locations, and the suspension geometry is nice, and there's no binding in anything now. Everything's really free in the back, like it's super free. I might even have to do some shock tuning just to clean it up. But I usually like to build my rigs so that they sit sort of, you know, on the springs for sure. And they're not just jacked up, you know, like, I mean, you could have it just spring super high on it, but I don't like the look of that. I like it nice and down. And there's just so much travel there, wow. So now here comes the big job. We got to pull the whole front end off here, and we got to disconnect the panhard link. We're going to do the same job with the front links here, and these two front links that are 6x91s right now, we're going to cut them back to be 85s to be the same as the rear, because of course we're using on the front axle the Wraith links again. And so we're going to rebuild this whole thing and into this MetalHead offset in the front using the panhard mount and the Wraith links to attach it. And we'll tear all this off here, and we'll reuse the shocks in the same positions and the drive shaft, except the top link will be gone, and it's going to get all rebuilt. So we're going to do a big tear. So as you can see, we're done with the back, and we're hard at it with the front axle here. This is the plastic pile that we took out of the front, and we're moving to the MetalHead unit here. Now I wanted to just take a pause here for a second and actually talk about this axle, because of course it's offset, so the stock original center axles aren't going to work. And I want to tell you what we did here. We took a Wraith front right here, and we just cut it down. So this is a Wraith front, and you'll notice by a quick inspection here that the dog bone end is exactly the same. I know, you're saying, well, why you build a MetalHead and not put a nice CVD in there? Well, I'll tell you why. Because I've never broke one of these in my life. That's why. These might wear out the drive cups, and they might be clumsy, and they might be not very good for power, but I'll tell you, these are pretty tough. And if you drive the truck like a scale truck, or quite a bit harder, you'd be surprised how much it takes to actually break these. Anyways, this is a stock Wraith one. Good enough for a 5.5-inch tire and a 3S brushless system with 30 degrees of timing boost, so I'm pretty sure that there's nothing wrong with this putting it in my Dingo. Because the axle's so long on the long side of the Wraith, we just cut it to size. And we took the original SCX front axle from one side and we cut it down to size 2. So the end of it that used to be here is all just snipped completely off. And then we filed the flats on here with the grinder. And we put the flats in line with the pins, so that when we're actually putting the last locker in the diff, we can tell. Now, it was as easy as this. Pull out the diff, drop in your axle, measure the center line, mark it on the axle, cut it off, put a flat. Repeat on the other side. Drop in a new axle. This was the Wraith long side. Mark it for the center, put the flats on it, cut it off, you're done. Hey, big surprise. So look, it's a last locker. Yeah. Alright. Huge piles of beef in these things. Man. So what ended up happening here was I took put the last locker in here and got this all fixed up with the pinion holder and all that stuff, and just I couldn't be happier. I mean, this is fantastic. So I'm gonna put just pack this thing full of white grease and put my fancy dancy cover on here and get the bolts in that and then drop it in the truck. Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure you've never seen this before. So I put my pinion gear on the drill and by golly, it turns the gear. So you just go like this. You want to make sure your grease is stuffed in? This is how you do it right here. Listen, boys, this is tip of the day. And there we go, so the cover's on, and as you can see, we got it linked up again. We'll just have a look inside here at what's going on. There's a couple of changes I made while I was in here. So as you can see, we've got the Wraith mounting brackets here. These 6x91s are actually 6x80s, and that's pretty much the limit of what these straight ends can do. So you'd really have to change these to the bent link ends if you wanted to get it any smaller than that. They're pretty much right on the limit there, you can see. And the flex is still fine. There's no problem with the flex or anything, but the links are at the limit. So up top, we ended up using an axial link again. Hard to see in there, but it's that one with the little step on it. I didn't measure it to see how long it is, but you can see the third link in there. And it runs straight up and down, so it's following right here, all the way back to the original mount hole, and off to the side of the pinion cover here. So we flipped our panhard mount to the other side. It used to be on this side. Now it's over here. That was just a simple flip. Same piece of tie rod in the middle, and we extended our servo. So now the servo and the panhard are actually both in the long form. We used to have the panhard with the servo in the same spot, and so the servo was on the short side. Now it's on the long side, so that's even better. And the little panhard bracket's all hooked up, and basically all we have to do is get the tires put back on this thing, and we're ready to roll.